Listen carefully. I'm not like you. I've lived too long among the raw mechanics of survival, where pain is a constant teacher, where comfort is a trap, and where every suppressed instinct eventually turns on its host. I read people the way a predator reads prey, not through words, but through the micro tremors in the jaw, the averted glance, the forced smile that never reaches the eyes. I see you, right now, sitting there, believing you are safe because you are good. Society sold you a lie, and you bought it wholesale. Being a good man means being a nice man. Sit down, shut up, don't rock the boat, don't be aggressive, don't cause trouble, be convenient, be predictable, be the domesticated pet that purrs when stroked and never bites the hand that feeds it, even when that hand is choking you, but something inside you is snarling. You feel the heat. You feel the rage you've been trained to smother because someone told you rage makes you a bad person. You are wrong. That rage is the last living part of you. Everything else is already dying. You have confused harmlessness with virtue. There is no virtue in being harmless. A creature that cannot hurt anything is not virtuous. It is simply powerless. A rabbit is not noble because it refuses to eat the wolf. It is a rabbit because it cannot. True virtue is having the capacity to destroy and choosing not to. That is meekness. Meekness is not weakness. Meekness is power held in perfect control. Right now you have no power. You are a walking invitation to be used. No one respects a man who cannot bite, not your boss, not your friends, not the woman who claims to love you. They all smell the absence of danger on you and they step accordingly. You fear your own aggression. You believe that if you bare your teeth, people will despise you. The opposite is true. Humans only respect what can hurt them. You respect the ocean because it can drown you. You respect fire because it can consume you. If the ocean were a puddle, you would walk through it without a second thought. You have made yourself a puddle and you wonder why the world keeps stepping on you. You need to become the ocean. You need to integrate your shadow. This is not a call to become a criminal. This is not permission to become a tyrant. This is a demand that you become dangerous. A dangerous man can say no. A dangerous man can negotiate from strength. A dangerous man can protect what is his. A harmless man can only plead. Stop trying to be nice. Niceness is a performance. Be dangerous, and then, only then, choose to be kind. There is an ocean of difference between the two. You believe that swallowing your anger is discipline. It is not. You are packing explosives into a sealed container and pretending the pressure doesn't exist. Physics does not negotiate. One day the container ruptures, and when nice men rupture, they do not fight cleanly. They implode or they explode outward in ways society pretends to be shocked by. The quiet colleague who snaps, the devoted husband who erupts, the good guy who ends up on the evening news. They never learn to channel the fire, so the fire eventually burns the house down, with them inside it. Your aggression, your lust, your greed, your hunger for dominance, these are not moral failures. They are raw energy. Repress them, and they ferment into resentment. Resentment is the slowest, ugliest poison a man can drink. It is the emotion of the man who says yes when every cell in his body screams no. It is the toxin you swallow, hoping someone else will die from it. Look at your reflection. Do you recognize the exhaustion in your eyes? The slackness in your jaw? That is the face of a man who has swallowed too many lies. You fear conflict. You have been taught that conflict is failure. If we're arguing, something is wrong. Wrong. Conflict is the only honest negotiation of boundaries. If you never conflict, you never establish where you end and others begin. A relationship without conflict is just two people performing agreement while privately seething. A workplace without conflict is a sinking ship where no one dares point out the leak. You must become comfortable with tension. When someone disrespects you, do not diffuse it with a joke. Hold the gaze. Let the silence stretch until it becomes uncomfortable. That discomfort is you redrawing your perimeter. It is the silent declaration, I am not safe to cross. You will be astonished at what happens next. They do not hate you. They back down. They apologize. Because deep down, humans crave boundaries. They are children tasting whether the bear is alive. Show them you are alive. Growl. You suffer from a disease called the need to be liked. You mistake it for kindness. It is cowardice wearing a mask. You say yes when you mean no. You laugh at jokes that bore you. You agree with opinions you despise. You apologize for taking up space. Sorry. Excuse me, sorry. Stop apologizing for existing. This is not courtesy. This is fawning. A trauma response hardwired into prey animals. When an animal cannot fight and cannot flee, it rolls over and shows its belly, hoping the predator will spare something so pathetic. That is you. You bare your throat to the world, hoping it will pet you instead of slaughter you. But the world is not a kind owner. The world is a butcher, and butchers prefer animals that do not struggle. Understand the economics of respect. Respect is a scarce resource. resource. When you give it away freely, by agreeing to everything, by never pushing back, your agreement becomes worthless. Your yes is inflation. Too much currency in circulation. No one values it. But the man who says no makes his eventual yes precious. When a difficult man finally agrees, people feel they have earned something real. You are terrified that if you say no, people will abandon you. Let them. If their affection depends on your utility, they were never allies. They were parasites. Drain the swamp. The water level drops, and you finally see who was swimming naked. You fear being called selfish. Good. Become selfish. If you do not own yourself, you have nothing genuine to offer anyone else. Right now, you are common property, a public park where anyone can walk, litter, and leave. Erect fences, install gates, make visitors knock and wipe their feet. The moment you do, the quality of company changes. Parasites hate gates, peers respect property. Here is the darkest secret of the nice guy. He is a liar. You lie to everyone. You perform happiness while inwardly raging. You perform agreement while inwardly judging. You present a curated persona to manipulate people into liking you. That is not virtue. That is covert manipulation. You are running a hidden contract. I will pretend to be whatever you want if you give me validation in return. Stop it. Be honest. Even when honesty is abrasive. No, I don't want to go to that event. No, I don't like your idea. No, I won't do that favor. It stings for a moment, but they will trust you forever. Because when you finally say something kind, they know you mean it. Kill the nice guy. Birth the honest man. Now we must speak about violence. You have been brainwashed into believing violence is always wrong. Violence is not wrong. Violence is the final authority from which all other authority flows. You can have perfect arguments, perfect laws, perfect morals, but if a man enters the room who is willing to use violence and you are not, your arguments evaporate. He takes what he wants, your rights, your property, your family, your life, gone. You outsource your protection to police, to security, to the system. The police are simply men who retain the right to use violence on your behalf. You have made yourself a dependent child. A dangerous man does not outsource his survival. He is capable of violence, therefore he rarely needs to use it. That is the paradox of the warrior in a garden. Better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. The gardener gets slaughtered. The warrior tends his flowers in peace because no one dares trample them. You need to learn how to fight, not for sport, not for ego, for reality. Find a gym, boxing, Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu, whatever forces you to confront physical truth. Feel what it is like to be hit. Taste your own blood. Then realize you did not shatter. You are still here. That single realization obliterates anxiety. Anxiety feeds on the unknown. Once you know the taste of combat, the fear loses its power. You will walk differently afterward. Predators scan for prey. The nervous twitch, the averted eyes, the scent of fear. When you carry the quiet knowledge that you can end a threat in seconds, you no longer broadcast prey signals. You become calm. Lions don't posture. Chihuahuas do. Get humbled. Nothing cures delusion faster than a smaller man choking you unconscious because he understands leverage and you do not. It destroys the illusion that size or bravado is enough. Competence is king. Your ancestors carried this software for hundreds of thousands of years. It is still in your blood. Wake it up. When you leave the gym bruised and spent, you will feel a peace no meditation app can sell you. You will feel the peace of a weapon that has been tested. Write down your most obvious illusions. Right now, not tomorrow, not after you finish scrolling. Take a pen and paper and list them coldly. I believe people will love me if I never inconvenience them. I believe suppressing anger is strength. I believe being needed equals being wanted. Be ruthless. Seeing them in black and white is the first incision. Admit that you are stuck, not in theory, in your gut. Say it out loud. I am stuck. Feel the weight. Blindly repeating the scripts you were handed, be nice, be agreeable, be harmless, is the path to nowhere. It is a slow, comfortable suicide. Every minute you delay is not neutral. It is active self-destruction. Your cortisol stays elevated. Your testosterone continues to decline. Your neural pathways harden into submission patterns. Your body begins to store fat as if preparing for famine because it no longer trusts you to hunt. Your mind fogs. Your erections weaken. Your sleep fractures. You are not maintaining. You are decomposing in real time. You have a choice and only you can make it. You can remain the nice guy. Keep fawning. Keep apologizing. Keep swallowing the poison until it gives you ulcers, heart disease, depression, or a complete nervous breakdown. Keep living in quiet desperation, hoping that if you are good enough, the world will finally be fair. It won't. The world eats the weak without remorse, or you can begin the work of becoming dangerous. Integrate the monster. Learn to say no and mean it. Learn to hold tension without folding. Learn to protect yourself physically so that you walk with the quiet authority of a man who no longer needs permission to exist. This path is lonely at first. People will complain, you've changed. changed. You're not as nice anymore. Good. Their discomfort is evidence that your boundaries are working. Their disappointment is proof that they were benefiting from your previous weakness. For most, the journey begins alone. Writing the illusions, admitting the trap, taking the first punch in a gym, saying the first honest no. Some will find their own route out of the pit through trial and error. Others will realize, quickly or eventually, that self-navigation is too slow, too inefficient when the body and mind are already eroding. For those men, there are structured routes, narrow, proven, unforgiving paths built by those who have already crawled out and mapped the terrain. Systems designed to force integration of the shadow, to rebuild the nervous system, to rewire instincts without the luxury of self-deception. I do not care which you choose. My investment in your outcome is zero. I'm simply stating the mechanics. Every second you remain harmless, you move closer to irreversible decay. Every second you begin reclaiming power, you move toward life. The fire is awake. Stop pouring water on it. Feed it. Let the nice guy burn. What rises from the ashes is the man you were supposed to become. The screen fades. The choice is yours. You think you have time. You don't. Every day you spend as the harmless version of yourself is a day your body pays compound interest on the debt you're racking up. Cortisol floods your system because you live in constant low-grade submission. Your testosterone continues its slow, steady decline, measurable, predictable, irreversible if you do nothing. Your nervous system rewires itself for avoidance. The pathways for fight atrophy, while the pathways for freeze and fawn thicken. Your posture collapses forward, shoulders rounding to protect the heart you've already surrendered. Fat accumulates around the midsection, not from calories alone, but from a body that believes it is no longer required to hunt, fight, or dominate territory. Your sleep fragments, your focus erodes, your libido fades. You tell yourself these are signs of aging. They are signs of surrender. You are not aging. You are rotting while still breathing. Look at the men around you who followed the same script, the ones who never growled, never said no, never learned what their fists were for. They are soft in body and vacant in eyes. They speak in apologies. They move like ghosts. They die early, of heart disease, of stroke, of natural causes that are anything but natural. Their funerals are attended by people who barely remember them. That is your trajectory unless you interrupt it. Now, the first incision is simple, almost insultingly so. Take a sheet of paper. Write down the illusions you still cling to. Do it coldly. No drama, no self-pity, just the facts. I believe that if I never inconvenience anyone, they will value me. I believe that swallowing anger makes me strong. I believe that being needed is the same as being respected. I believe that peace is the absence of conflict. I believe that my worth is measured by how little trouble I cause. List them until the page feels heavy, then read them aloud. Hear how absurd they sound when stripped of the emotional fog you usually hide them in. This is not therapy. This is autopsy. You're identifying the lies that are currently killing you. Next, admit out loud that you are stuck. Not struggling, not going through a phase. Stuck. Say it. I am stuck in a pattern that is destroying me. Feel the weight settle in your chest. Good. That weight is gravity pulling you toward the only honest starting point. Blind repetition of the scripts you were handed. Be nice, be agreeable, be harmless is not a life strategy. It is a slow execution. You already know this on some level because the rage you suppress keeps leaking out in passive ways. Sarcasm, procrastination, porn, scrolling, binge eating, quiet resentment toward everyone who seems freer than you. Those are not bad habits. They are the pressure cooker hissing steam before it explodes. Some men will take the paper, make the admission, and begin clawing their own way out. They will find a gym that smells like sweat and iron. They will get hit in the face and discover they do not break. They will say their first real no and watch the world recalibrate around them. They will endure the loneliness of no longer being everyone's favorite doormat. They will rebuild slowly, painfully, alone. Most won't. Most will stare at the list of illusions, feel the momentary sting, and then minimize it. They will tell themselves they'll work on it tomorrow. They will return to the comfort of being liked, and the decay will accelerate. For those who reach the edge and truly realize that self-navigation is too slow, that the damage is already deep, that their willpower has been eroded by years of submission, there are narrower paths, structured, proven, unforgiving. Roads mapped by men who have already dragged themselves out of the same hole and left markers for the ones still drowning. Systems designed not to comfort, but to force the integration of the shadow, to reforge the nervous system under controlled stress, to reinstall the primal software without the luxury of endless trial and error. You convince yourself the damage is reversible later. it isn't always. The longer you wait, the higher the cost of reversal. Scar tissue forms in the nervous system from chronic freeze. Mitochondrial efficiency drops from sedentary submission. Bone density begins to decline from lack of load-bearing stress. The prefrontal cortex shrinks further from decision avoidance. Hormonal cascades that once responded quickly to challenge now lag. Recovery windows narrow. What could have been rebuilt in months now takes years or never fully returns. You are not preserving yourself. You are allowing entropy to win without resistance. Observe the men who postpone the decision. The ones who said, after the holidays, when work slows, once the kids are older, they reach a point where the body no longer answers the call. They try a gym for the first time at 50 and tear a rotator cuff on the first heavy press. They attempt their first honest boundary and face divorce papers because the pattern was too entrenched. They look back and realize the fire didn't wait. It's smothered under the weight of accumulated excuses. That threshold is closer than you think. The men who break through alone do it with relentless consistency. They treat every day as non-negotiable warfare. Morning cold exposure to shock the vagus nerve out of dorsal dominance. Heavy compound lifts to force testosterone response. Sparring sessions where they learn to stay calm while being hit. Daily micro-confrontations. Holding eye contact with the aggressive driver. Refusing the unnecessary request at work. Ending the phone call that wastes time. They track everything. No illusions left unexamined. They cut the energy drains. The porn that numbs. The alcohol that blunts. The scrolling that avoids. They sit in deliberate discomfort. Ice baths. Long fasts. Silent retreats in nature where the mind has nowhere to hide. The process is brutal. Progress is measured in millimeters. Setbacks are frequent, but the compound effect is undeniable. After 6 months, the mirror shows a different man. After a year, the world treats him differently. After 2, he no longer recognizes the old version. Yet the majority falter on this solo path. The demands of modern life, bills, obligations, distractions, chip away at consistency. Old neural grooves pull harder than new ones form. A single week of slippage becomes a month. The fire flickers, then dims again. For those who recognize this pattern early, who feel the slippage already beginning, there exist rigorously tested frameworks, not generic programs, not inspirational content, precise sequential systems engineered from thousands of case studies, exact physical protocols to restore hormonal baseline, targeted psychological drills to dismantle remaining fawning responses, enforced accountability that eliminates backsliding, phased integration of controlled violence to reawaken dormant instincts. These are narrow gates. Entry requires proof of seriousness. Progression demands daily evidence. Completion forges a man who operates from a different operating system entirely, one calibrated for reality rather than comfort. Very few apply. Fewer are accepted. The ones who complete do not return to their old lives. They become the quiet reference point others sense but cannot fully explain. I offer no comfort, only clarity. Your physiology is already shifting against you. The morning wood that used to be reliable now intermittent. The recovery from minor stress that used to take hours now takes days. The quiet despair that settles in when you're alone with your thoughts. These are not random. They are feedback from a body that has stopped believing you will ever lead it into battle again. Ignore the feedback and the system downgrades further. Heed it and begin the reversal, alone if you must, through whatever structured route proves necessary if you must. The fire is weaker today than yesterday. It will be weaker still tomorrow unless you act, not plan, not intend. Act. The countdown is audible now. You hear it in the silence after another day of submission. Decide. You tell yourself change is hard. It is. But remaining the same is harder. It just spreads the pain across decades until it becomes unbearable. The body adapts to submission by downgrading everything. Muscle protein synthesis slows to preservation mode. Neural drive to limbs weakens. Fascial tissue shortens into permanent hunch. Voice box atrophies from lack of resonant command. You become a smaller version of yourself, literally and energetically. People stop noticing when you enter a room. Conversations flow around you. Opportunities pass to men who carry presence. Your own reflection becomes a stranger you avoid. You are not holding ground. You are surrendering territory daily. The men who refuse this fate alone pay in full up front. They restructure their entire day around reclamation. Dawn starts with deliberate stress, cold shower to spike noradrenaline, heavy deadlifts to demand testosterone, breath holds to retrain the diaphragm for combat breathing. They eat only what fuels repair: meat, organs, eggs. No negotiations with cravings that serve the old weakness. They train violence twice a week minimum, striking pads pads until knuckles bleed, grappling until ego taps. They schedule confrontation, weekly reviews where they list every moment they submitted and dissect why. They cut dead weight ruthlessly, relationships that demand performance, habits that numb, environments that reward compliance. The cost is isolation. Old friends drift when you stop being useful. Family questions the new attitude. Dating pools shift. Some women leave, unable to handle the emerging edge. Others appear, drawn to the first real man they've encountered. Sleep becomes deep but dream-filled with old fears surfacing to be processed. Energy swings wildly at first. Highs of breakthrough. Lows of withdrawal from decades of dopamine hits via approval. Progress compounds brutally. 3 months in, the mirror shows denser muscle, sharper jaw. 6 months in, strangers defer space on sidewalks. A year in, conflict becomes fuel rather than threat. The fire no longer flickers, it burns steady. Yet most who attempt this solo fracture under the weight. Consistency demands a nervous system not yet rebuilt. Life events, illness, loss, demands, exploit the gaps. A single relapse cascades. The old pathways, deeper groove, pull harder. Many conclude, this isn't for me, and revert, now carrying the scar of self-betrayal. For those who see the fracture coming, who calculate that years of inefficient struggle equal permanent loss, there are distilled pathways, forged from repeated failure and success across thousands of men. These are not loose guidelines, they are exact blueprints, timed physical cycles to force adaptation without burnout, scripted psychological exposures to accelerate shadow integration, daily checkpoints enforced externally, progression gates that lock until criteria are met, no room for negotiation with the old self. The system applies the pressure you cannot yet apply to yourself. Entry is deliberate. Most who express interest are screened out. Too many excuses, too little skin already in the game. The ones accepted pay the highest price. Total exposure of remaining weakness under relentless light. Completion rate is low. Survivors do not resemble their former selves. They move with economy, speak with precision, command without raising voice. The fire is no longer suppressed or wild. It is banked, ready. I state only the equation. Inaction, accelerated decay, eventual total loss. Solo reclamation, high cost, high risk of failure, delayed result. Structured reclamation, highest upfront cost, plus enforced consistency, plus fastest verifiable transformation. Your biology does not care about your preferences. It responds to demand or it atrophies. The fire is dimmer now. Feed it with whatever means your remaining honesty demands, or accept the remainder as slow extinguishment. The countdown echoes. Decide before the next excuse forms. You tell yourself you're almost ready. You're not. Every week you postpone, the reversal curve steepens. Epigenetic markers lock in from chronic stress. Insulin sensitivity drops further. Arterial plaques begin to form quietly. The vagus nerve solidifies dorsal dominance. Your default becomes freeze, not fight. Facial musculature atrophies from lack of authentic expression. Your smile looks increasingly painted on. Your voice loses subharmonic depth. People stop hearing you even when you speak. You become background noise in your own life. You are not pausing, you are compounding loss. The men who waited until ready never started. They hit the wall where the body refuses to respond. First heavy squat causes disc herniation. First honest confrontation triggers panic attack. First attempt at consistency collapses under accumulated fatigue. They settle into management, medication, therapy, coping mechanisms, while quietly grieving the man they never became. That wall is closer than your excuses admit. The men who refuse to wait alone commit fully. They treat reclamation as war. Daily protocol. Wake before dawn. 30 minutes of zone 2 cardio to rebuild aerobic base, followed by maximal effort lifts, squats, deadlifts, presses, to remind the body it must grow stronger or die. Post-training, 10 minutes of controlled breathing to shift ventral vagal tone. Nutrition, 0 processed carbs, high saturated fat, organ meats weekly to restore nutrient deficits. Evening, deliberate debrief. Write every submission moment, dissect it, plan the counter next time. Weekly, live sparring, no protective gear beyond basics, to relearn that pain passes and fear lies. Monthly, isolation, 48 hours alone in nature, no devices, to force confrontation with the inner void. The price is total. Social circles shrink to those who tolerate the obsession. Relationships either adapt or end. Free time evaporates. The first 3 months feel like withdrawal, irritability, insomnia, cravings for old numbing agents. Then the shift. Morning erections return. Energy stabilizes. Gaze hardens. 6 months. Strangers give space instinctively. 1 year. Conflict feels like opportunity. The fire is no longer a flicker. It is a furnace. Still, most who go alone break. The protocol is unforgiving and life is not cooperative. Injury, work crisis, family emergency, any disruption exploits the still fragile consistency. Old grooves reassert, progress reverses. Many conclude the cost is too high and retreat, now carrying the knowledge that they chose comfort over life. For those who calculate the math and see solo reclamation as probable failure, there remain the distilled systems, built from decades of observed patterns across thousands of men. These are not courses in the conventional sense. They are engineered sequences, 12-week phases of precisely escalating physical load to force hormonal uprising without overtraining, daily scripted exposures to trigger and resolve remaining fawning reflexes, external enforcement that removes the option of slippage, final integration trials under real-world stress to prove the new operating system holds. No fluff, no motivation, only demand and verification. Access is restricted. Most who inquire are rejected. Too many remaining illusions, too little demonstrated pain. The ones accepted surrender autonomy temporarily to gain it permanently. Completion rate remains low. Graduates do not advertise. They simply move differently. Economy of motion, depth in gaze, silence that commands attention. The fire is banked, controlled, eternal. I have no stake in your decision. Your body is already deciding for you. The morning fatigue that lingers longer. The recovery that never quite arrives. The quiet certainty in unguarded moments that you are disappearing. You tell yourself one more day won't matter. It does. Every additional day of submission etches the pattern deeper. The nervous system finalizes its downgrade. The hormonal cascade accepts the new, lower baseline as permanent. Muscle memory for assertion atrophies completely. The face settles into permanent softness. The voice becomes background hum. You fade into the category of men no one remembers until they need something mundane done without complaint. You are not waiting, you are vanishing. There is no more tomorrow for excuses. The men who reclaim alone have already begun. They are in the gym right now, bleeding on the mats. They are saying the no you still postpone. They are feeding the fire while yours gutters. The men who choose the proven path have already committed. They are inside the narrow system, under pressure that does not allow retreat. They are changing faster than you can imagine because someone else removed the option of half measures. You are still here, reading this, feeling the truth hit bone. That feeling is the last invitation. Take the pen, write the illusions, burn them. Admit you are stuck. Walk into the gym today. Say the first honest no before sunset. Or accept that for you, there is no structured route, because you will not take it either. Most won't. Most will close this video, feel the sting for a moment, then return to the comfort of being harmless. And the decay will continue, quiet and final. The fire is almost out. One breath of oxygen now, or darkness. The countdown ends here. Feed it. Let the nice guy die screaming. Let the dangerous man rise. The monster has waited long enough. He is awake now. That certainty is accurate. Interrupt it with whatever ruthlessness remains. Solo, if your honesty demands the hard way. Structured, if your honesty admits the solo way will fail, or continue negotiating with tomorrow. The fire shrinks again tonight. Feed it now, or accept the dark. The countdown is almost over. Choose.